They get their beliefs from us. So as we work towards helping them build the best future they can have, we have to make sure our beliefs are helping, not hindering, all that planning. G'day, I'm Debra Caldow. Welcome to the Red Giraffe Solutions Expanding Worlds podcast, where we aim to support you as you help your young person with additional needs plan for their future, a future where they're safe, secure, and live a rewarding and fulfilling life. From around the world, I share stories and I share solutions from people making this possible right now. I'm a parent of a young person with additional needs, so I understand the challenges. Many of the people I've interviewed on this podcast have already helped me design a better future for my daughter, and I hope that they might help you as well to imagine what's possible for your young person. This podcast is made possible by Red Giraffe Solutions, which is a project I'm proud to be part of, supporting families to build a better future for their children. We now have available at Red Giraffe Solutions an online course called Independent Cooking Made Easy. This is a new and unique approach we developed when we realised traditional cooking techniques and recipes were never going to enable our daughter to cook without some support or supervision. It's a safe, simple system that uses no more than 5 ingredients, has no weighing, cutting or chopping, and no lifting of heavy dishes. Each of the 16 recipes in the course includes a step-by-step video of our daughter making the meal, plus a visual recipe card. We developed this for our daughter to solve her challenges with cooking, and every recipe in the course she can and does genuinely cook for herself. You can find a link to the course in this episode's show notes. In this week's episode, to celebrate reaching 200 episodes of the podcast, I promised to avoid any self-congratulations. Because let's be honest, this podcast isn't about me. It's about you as a listener and my guests who share their stories and their solutions. This podcast wouldn't have reached 200 without either of those things. So if I'm not going to open the champagne, what is this episode going to be about? I've certainly talked previously about the reason I started the podcast and the impact it's had on my life and my daughter's plans for her future. When I started this in 2017, I never imagined I'd still be going in 2025, or that I would have released 199 episodes. What I really want to do in this episode, though, is talk about why it's so important that we all continue to share our stories and our solutions with others, but more importantly, how we need to work together in a better way. And there are 2 things in particular I believe we can do better. And the first of these is knowing when to let go of our own beliefs. And the second thing is to stop building solutions for our children from scratch. As I look back over who's been on the podcast, it was easy to see that so many of my guests have been parents or carers who, when they couldn't find a solution, created one for themselves. In fact, a quick look back revealed that just over 35% of the podcast episodes were just that, parents and carers talking about a solution they'd developed, initially to support their own child, but one that had grown into something bigger and ended up providing a solution for many others in the community. These solutions address many things, including providing social activities, work experience opportunities, housing options. In fact, housing options is one of the most popular topics, with 15% of all the episodes addressing housing issues. And the one thing I've noticed is that these solutions aren't one-dimensional. They often start with one idea in mind, but morph into a lot more. For housing options, it can become about community, about relationships. A lot of the work experience ideas are also about community, breaking down barriers, so it becomes about advocacy. It's never just about a job. We all know that a job is so much more. It's about inclusion, financial security, connection, building life skills. But I do think there can be a disconnect between parents and professionals, and that is one of the things I feel needs addressing. If anything, knowing this has been one of the most powerful lessons I learned from doing this podcast. I've had to learn to let go of a lot of my beliefs over the years, and by doing that, I believe that has had the biggest impact on where my daughter is now and the life she's planning for herself. What do I mean by beliefs? Well, one definition is that beliefs are convictions about the way things are. It's a conviction that something is a fact, even if there's no evidence to support it. Our beliefs are influenced by our personal experiences, the experts we trust, the influence of our family and our friends, and our environment, including the social groups we belong to, and the values and norms that we're exposed to. And it's our beliefs that influence how we think, how we feel, and how we behave, and how we see our children's futures, and how we plan with them for those futures. So what is the link between our beliefs and this disconnection between parents and carers and professionals? I can perhaps explain that better by talking about why this disconnect exists. I think this disconnect is fueled by many things. I still believe we all know our children best, and we will be the last person standing beside them at every turn of their lives. The successes, the disasters, the good, the bad, the ugly, it comes back to us. As the saying goes, the buck stops with us. The issue with that is that we can end up relying just on our own beliefs as we support our children. If our beliefs are built on our experiences and the experts we interact with, then I have plenty of negative experiences and fatalistic expert opinions on which to base my beliefs about what my daughter's future would look like. But as my daughter has gotten older, I've started to question these beliefs, based on the new information I found, mostly via the guests that I've spoken to on this podcast. Then comes what psychologists call cognitive dissonance, which basically is that uncomfortable feeling you get when you're doing something that doesn't quite fit with your beliefs. In my case, it was most often around the belief that my daughter would find it difficult to get a paid job. I started to slowly recognise the impact my beliefs were having when I spoke to a few people from organisations providing work opportunities for young people with additional needs. I heard more than once that one of the challenges was the parents' beliefs that their children could not hold down a paid job. This manifested itself in various ways with excuses like, they can't travel to the job, they won't be able to deal with the pressure, they can't stay up that late, they don't understand money. As all of my guests explained though, each of these issues could be addressed with the right support and tools in place. After hearing this over and over, I realised that my own beliefs weren't necessarily that far from some of these. That really was the moment when I made a concerted effort to push back those beliefs and adopt that presumption of employment mantra that one guest had shared with me. Let's be honest, it's easier to selectively seek out and interpret information that confirms our existing beliefs. Letting go of our beliefs is hard, and it's a lot like letting go of our children. Our main job is to keep our children safe and protect them, more so than most other parents have to, if we're honest. The problem is we can end up confining them within a space built on our beliefs. Don't get me wrong, I'm in no way suggesting that these positive professionals are universally right. They too are often constrained by their beliefs. And another thing I would say about the professionals who support our children to reach their full potential, they're often focused on only one part of our child's life, whether that's work or housing or daily living skills. And because of that, their beliefs can be narrow, based on one area of our children's lives. And of course their roles are always transitory. They don't always think long term. They think here and now, which can make it more difficult for us to trust their beliefs over our own. We really are our children's lifelong coaches. Their lives are built around our actions as well as their own. They get their beliefs from us. So as we work towards helping them build the best future they can have, we have to make sure our beliefs are helping, not hindering, all that planning. The other change I'd like to see is that we stop creating solutions from scratch. While all of our children are unique, the solutions to the challenges they need are not unique. I guarantee someone has already done it before us. I know that this reinventing of the wheel is real because I see it in so many of my episodes. There are a few reasons I believe this keeps happening. One is that we do often feel alone. We get to that point where we say, well, if no one is helping, I'll just have to do it myself. Then it kind of becomes your creation, and it's harder to look outside for ideas. We do all want to feel that sense of control as we push to do the best we can for our children. That's a natural reaction, I think, to the many times where we feel we have no control, especially in the school years, where it's often a continuous fight for pretty much everything. But listening to others, who of course you may not agree with in the end, can be a catalyst for arriving at a solution quicker. I think there's still a reticence to reach out and ask others for information as well. But I can guarantee that not one single guest I've spoken to on the podcast would not share with you the ups and downs of their journey. But I guess as well, the bigger issue here is finding the information we need when we start thinking about doing something. There are certainly already organisations, I think, that understand how important this knowledge sharing is. There are industry bodies, particularly in the area around getting into paid employment, that communicate and collaborate. But I think real change will come when every organisation, be that profit or not-for-profit, whether it's a local community group or a large provider, see it as one of their roles to share both their successes and their failures. This needs to be about measuring outcomes, not just solving an issue for one or two of our children. This isn't about scaling up any of the projects that already exist, because that's one thing I've learned, is that solutions that work best are based within a community. There is no such thing as one size fits all. But we do need economies of scale when it comes to sharing knowledge. This podcast is about sharing stories and sharing solutions. All that sharing is pointless if we don't then use that information to move forward quicker to change the future for all of our children. As I put together this episode, I'm fully aware that there's a lot of uncertainty around the funding to build a better future for our children. I can't predict the future, but I can say that I believe that we'll never go back because we've come too far. Maybe there'll be a pause in progress, I hope not, but I know that we're better informed than we've ever been. Not just as parents and carers, but as a society in general. And most importantly, our children have expectations about their futures built on these changes. And this is all built on sharing stories and sharing solutions and making everyone in society see the impact of those on individuals and on communities. I just want to say thank you for taking the time to listen, and I hope that the stories and solutions shared on here help you as you support your young person to create their future. If you know anyone who would find the ideas useful, please share the podcast with them. To support the podcast, please consider finding out more about the Independent Cooking Made Easy online course. It's a safe, simple system that works. There are links to the course in the show notes. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook. You can also connect with me on LinkedIn at Debra Caldow. I'd love to have a conversation with you on any of the topics we all care about. Bye for now.